Greetings and welcome to the Upper Pen Podcast. My name is Dakota, and today I'm talking with Christopher Johns about his High Table Hijinks series. The High Table has been a place where mythological creatures could come and be safe for eons. Marcus, a medically discharged Marine, thought he was just being hired as a bartender by his uncle. Instead, he goes on an adventure and finds some old hurts of mythic proportions. Thank you, Chris, for joining me.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So in your bio on Mountaindale, it says that you used to be a journalist, right?
Yep, I was a photojournalist for the Marine Corps.
So how do you go from photojournalist in the Marine Corps to lit RPG?
A hop, skip, and a jump, and more than a few snacked on crayons. So when I was writing in the Marine Corps, it was a lot easier for me because I was always reading from the time I was a pup to the time I'd probably finished a book on my latest shoot. So for me, writing was always more of a novelistic approach, and I had to be reined in, and my editors, like my corporals and sergeants, had to be like, hey man, like you write well. This is not journalism. We need you to like dial it in and put the important information in there and not describe how someone was speaking and like the nature of their eyes while they were being interviewed. And I was like, that's probably fair. Probably fair. So I was lucky enough to have a very straightforward sergeant named Zach Griffith who said, hey man, you probably make an excellent writer, but this is how you need to do it from now on. So that's how I did it. It was just a unfortunate circumstance that allowed me to really take that leap. I had just lost a friend, and it was close on the turmoil of losing so many of those like close friendships that I could go and see my friends every day and hang out with them, that I was just like, I'm hurting and I need something to make me feel close to them again. So I started writing, and it was like I was back on this adventure with my friends again, and it was easy to cope, and it was this really cathartic thing, and it turned into an entire universe that like my friends, all of them who are still with me, are just like, dude, this is awesome. Like, you got to keep going. I'm so excited to figure out what my character is going to do because I am a dick sometimes, and it's great. I'm so sorry if I'm not supposed to curse. But yeah, it's been really great, and I've been blessed to have those friendships, and I wanted to share those with people.
So that's your Axe Druid series, correct?
That is my Axe Druid series leading into High Table Hijinks.
Okay.
So the two actually share the same universe.
I'm only one book into Axe Druid, and I'm two into High Table, so you can't tell me anymore.
That's fine. That's fine. No more spoilers. That's okay.
You can't do this to me.
You've already probably met one of the characters that is in
I know
the series.
it is. Yeah. Oh gosh. That's fun though that they're interconnected like that.
Yeah, it was something that I wasn't actually expecting at the time when I started writing High Table. High Table was just supposed to be this like fun project where it's like I was wondering what a bartender would be like. Well, okay, I always write military style characters because it's what I understand, and Marcus is like the most military of them so far. Like, holy shit. And then Zeke started speaking to me. He's like, hey, I'm here. Like, what? what do you mean? What are you talking about, dude? You had yours. Like, you gotta wait for your other things to happen before you ever come back. No. I'm here. you slide me in here. And I was like, okay, I guess this is the same universe now.
That's kind of interesting though, because the premise of High Table is that Marcus becomes entangled with another entity called Galaxy. And through her, he gets lit RPG statistics and is able to like power up or like gain attributes, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
but then in Axe Druid, they're in a video game.
So in Axe Druid, they're in this entire world called Brindola.
Yeah.
And the premise of that series is they're trying to protect it from this entity called War. And this entity called War is going through the cosmos and acquiring powers from the various planets and gods and pulling them into this army that he has to continue his slog. You don't really find out too much as to his motivations or why he's doing what he's doing in Axe Druid. He's more like the big end-all, be-all bad guy, like supreme stakes. In High Table, you figure out what he was and how he could do what he was doing and why it was so important that they stop him. And some other things that again I won't spoil for you. You got 2 books to catch up on so far.
No, it's really hard because I do these interviews and I want to keep up on like the latest stuff that's coming out, but then I'm like, I need to go back to all the series that I really love and enjoy, and then I see people who are like, you're not writing fast enough. There was too much time between the last one and this one, and I'm like, there's 4 months.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah. What were you expecting? Like, I'm gonna dump out a book a month. I can't do that. I write fast.
Mm-hmm.
I have 13. I've just finished my 14th book, and I'm working on my 15th. And like I got a kid. I got a full-time job. Like I like to play video games too, man. Like let me relax, man. I just want to shoot people on Tiny Tina. Come on.
It's amazing how much you guys can accomplish being lit RPG authors. Like, I'm always just blown away because I want to read everything and then it just all piles on. So now I have 43 books in my backlog and I'm like, oh, fuck.
I mean, if you're like a glaringly obvious epic reader, like who like loves to have a great backlog and like your TBR is like a mile line, like long, that's awesome because like you never have a shortage of like books to read. I think in one of the groups that I was in, we figured out that there's almost 200 books released within like a 6-month period at a minimum in our genre alone. Our genre has like experienced a huge boom, and like the company that I work for, Mountaindale, puts out like a book pretty much almost every week, if not every other week. So like we're closing on a lot. So people in the genre like that want to read, you got stuff to read. Granted, some of it is not always the best, and you'll have like 181 iterations of the F word in one book. Axe Druid 1. But you know, like you deal with it because sometimes you love the people that are in it. But yeah, like the genre is huge and it's only growing, and the authors that are in it are passionate about what they do and they write fast.
You write fast, but
I try.
you've also been in it for a while.
I have.
Yeah. So how did you find Mountaindale? Because they seem like a really great pairing for your series, really.
Oh man, that was parts military networking training. If you meet someone, you know them now, and they are a part of your network. at the time, I had some friends who were dabbling in editing. Um, you know, they were excited to be doing the book because I think it was one of their first big projects, and by big I mean it was like 141 to 170 words. So it was a huge paying project for them, and they like me, so they were like, yeah, man, we'll give you a discount on everything, and you know we'll help you get it out there. This will be great. It's going to be great because they were just like, yeah, we'll help you out. And then they started reading it, and they're like, oh, we like this. We really like this. Okay, so they went to Dragon Con while they were editing it, and they pitched it to someone else who was writing in the genre and who was starting up their own, book company, who has been on your show before and is Dakota Kraut. I hate to name drop. Dude's huge. The D&D episode of the Upper Pen podcast was hilarious. He liked what he heard because he knew that they knew the genre well enough to think, okay, well, if he's going to impress them, he's got to be able to impress me. So I want to see it. I want to talk to him. So I reached out to Dakota on his request, and we had a conversation. I was actually on my way to my second job at the time at Planet Fitness. Just about to go in and work out. We were having a conversation. He wants to know the people that he hires. Like, it's a very personal thing. So apparently he liked cut him a jib, and didn't matter that I was a crayon eater nearly fresh out. He liked me and said, okay, man, I want to publish your book. Let's make this happen. So I was like, okay. I'm gonna go be ungodly mess for a few hours at work here, but yeah, we'll talk about that more. Yep. And that was about 3 years ago, I think.
That seems like the perfect point to have entered Lit RPG, because there wasn't so much saturation at that point, but it was still pretty. It had a pretty solid fan base, right?
Yeah. People who were aware of the genre were gobbling up anything that they could. And luckily for me, by the time I was finished, with that process of getting in there with Dakota, I had already been working on book 2. I was halfway through at the time, and that kind of spurred me on. I need to write faster. Because people read book 1, and read book 1. It does not end as well as people think or would want. And I'm not saying I was crucified, but my hands really hurt for a little while there.
But that's wonderful to feel to go from not having a book written to all of a sudden people are like, I need you to hurry up and bleed a little into the keyboard.
Yeah. Abuse that keyboard, man. Abuse it. Please. Where's the next book? I love this series. I need to know what happened. I have some really diehard fans, and one guy even got a tattoo of a saying from the dwarves within the series, because their religion is so he thought it was just the coolest thing, and I was like, I think you're the coolest thing, but you got a tattoo of my stuff, and I'm freaking out. But he's the coolest dude. We talk to each other all the time. Oh my god. Just thinking about it still gives me chills.
That's got to be simultaneously flattering, but also very strange. Was that the best line of the book, though?
So it was, if you read the series, you'll come across a religion called the Way. And the dwarves are very adamant followers of the Way, and part of how they greet each other to see if you're a part of their religion is the hammer falls, and the refrain is and rises again. So he had that tattooed on his arm with an anvil and a hammer because he's a blacksmith for fun, and I was like, that's the coolest thing. I've ever seen in my life, and I am freaking out because I have no idea what to do with my hands. Like, it was so awesome.
That is pretty fantastic. And because he's a blacksmith, it makes so much more sense than just a random dwarf quote, as powerful as it is, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It was great to see then, and still cool now.
So tell me a little bit about the high table, because I actually asked you on the show because you mentioned on Netflix, you were like, I bet this could be a great show. And I was like, it would be. It would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
So the premise of the high table, a place where supernatural beings can go to unwind and have an unbiased place, a neutral ground to just exist and relax and see their friends and hang out or just have a pint, is not new. Believe it or not, a lot of urban fantasy have these neutral grounds that are like super important to their culture, but they don't have like, I guess, a franchise. It's always just like one place in like a city or a country that is that is it. And then like you've got to like figure out where they are. Like with the high table, it is one existence that is spread out through branches throughout the world. And anybody could go to the Columbus branch and then jet out to California and have martinis, with Lucy, and the next day they're in Cairo. They're out there doing their thing there. Wherever their whims and wiles take them. Hopefully they're not out hunting and throwing themselves at the wardens, but it's this existence that allows them to safely intermingle with themselves and not go on killing sprees because they're pent up. Who doesn't just want to have a rum and coke and splatter their followers on the ground?
I've never wanted a Bloody Mary more than hearing Marcus make a bunch for Lucy. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Perfectly welcome. To be completely honest, I am not a huge fan of tomato or tomato juice, but afterward I was like, damn, I really want to try one of these. So I did, and I was like, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it would be, especially because it was for Lucy.
Right? He's one of my favorite characters, and I love that he's not the forefront, right? Like he's kind of like a side character.
Yeah.
But he's so loved, Everybody at the high table loves him.
You like any place of business, you've got your regulars. Yeah. You've got the people who come in. They're the nicest people that you'll ever meet. They want to take care of you and your staff, and they want to have fun. They want to unwind, and like, who better to come in and just make sure everybody's chill and everybody's taken care of than the devil himself? I mean, he's been put through the ringer so many times, and like he's the infinite baddie of the cosmos to most people, and in most religions, that he's just like, yeah, I'm not as big a douche as everybody makes me seem. I also really love the show on Netflix, so I'm gonna spout some lines from Tom Ellis, and we'll see if anybody takes the bait. And Marcus took the bait.
So I love those little interactions where it brings in like our world to this like weird fantasy world. And I think Lucy watching Lucifer on Netflix is like pretty spot on, right? It's hilarious on so many levels.
I could just see him like cuddled on the couch with his hellhounds, like with this huge big screen TV, watching Tom Ellis on screen just go, and what is it that you desire, my dear? And he'd just be cackling. Yes! See what they want! Tell me! Just having a blast with it. Because what else is there to do with your time than get drunk and watch the shows that you like?
Right? But so Lucy's not the only really fantastic character. You also have all these like other races that aren't typically shown in a lot of urban fantasy in the United States, like the Oni and like the Jin. So how did you find those characters?
So the Oni are, to me, in my sort of lore, are protectors. They're like the enforcers of the night parade. So I don't know if you know much about the yokai, but the night parade is a huge existence in Japan,
Okay.
and they play a huge role in book 4. So Cassia is an Oni who escaped, following in her big brother Kenshi's footsteps, and she wanted to live her own life. So she found, eventually, once it was created and concepted, the branch in Columbus and just stuck with it because she wanted to join like something that made her feel good about herself. It gave her purpose that she was both familiar with and on her own terms with. So that was becoming head of security for the High Table Columbus branch. With Ardent Flame, she was originally supposed to be the love interest, but Cassia kind of like elbowed in there and stole show. So I was like, okay, Ardent is just a good person all around. She's lived for thousands of years because Jinn are technically immortal, but their wish magic actually siphons some of their life force away. So it's what makes them mortal for a while. So like it's why being a captured Jinn and being stuck in a bottle is so bad, because every wish you grant, a portion of your life goes away, and it's always proportionate to the epicness of the wish. So like Genie from Aladdin, all that stuff that he was doing, like, would have been okay in the grand scheme of things, like a knockoff, like 1,000 years or so. Like what people wish for in the real world is slightly less cool with musical numbers and stuff. So that's a couple thousand years, and in the grand scheme of things, like that's a lot of life to live. A lot of gin martinis just gone. So she's not a huge fan of that. You find out later on in the series that she was bottled with some of her family, and that she feels like she's an orphan, and the High Table gives her a place that she feels safe. So she bartends there for her friend Yanasi, Uncle Yen, and she has a great time just playing video games and otherwise being a stick in Marcus's craw.
I love her contrariness a lot of the time too. She's always like giving it to Marcus when he's doing something stupid. Like
Yeah.
her
She's
end.
never afraid to tell somebody that they're being stupid. She's like, I've seen humans living for thousands of years. Like, I was in Macedonia. I saw Alexander the Great use putts. Like, she will literally shit on anyone. She does it affectionately.
Yeah.
But she's never afraid to tell you that you're messing up, which is kind of why she's such a huge part of Marcus's budding friend circle.
Yeah. So the other person that is very prominent is Galaxy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's hilarious to me because she's this great entity that has all these powers, and she's kind of, in the first book, she doesn't know who she is, right?
Yep.
But she loves to play video games. She's such a hardcore nerd. And
Oh my
she's
God,
doing
yeah,
research, right?
huge. She has to. Yeah. So, for the most part, her playing video games, it's her realizing these systems and worlds are similar to something that kind of calls to me from the ether, but I can't think of what it is or how it works. But I mean, it's cool and it's fun, and I get to kill people, so I'm okay with that. And it is much better than just sitting in a pendant and doing nothing for thousands of years or God knows how long.
She's just really fun, and I appreciate that all these characters are really kind of different. Like Cass is really headstrong and very vocal about you're gonna train all the time.
Yeah, you have to. You have
Right.
to. So that was one of the things that I learned from writing my first series is that so many people that are friends usually feel really similar to each other. So I always try now to make like headbutting relationships that like feel normal and feel genuine because they are in the stories, but also are super, super different. Like Cassia will fight anybody. She does not care. I will fight you. It's gonna be great. Afterward, I'll put you in a full body cast and then I'll get you a drink. Arden is like, if I'm gonna fight anybody, you're gonna burn. It's both from the roasting that I can give you with my magic and my tongue. So it's gonna be a bad time. Galaxy will just try to eat you. And then of course there's Marcus. You're probably gonna get shot or punched in the face.
Yeah.
And then we have another character named Merlin.
Yes. Merlin.
Yeah, Merlin. Well, let me turn the tables on you here real quick. What do you think about Merlin?
I think Merlin, he's like the snotty little kid that you want him to get his nose punched just once, but then at the end of the first book, I'm like, too much. And then it's so sad, and you're like, okay, I see the protective instinct now. Like, he just needs friends and guidance.
Yeah, he's not as much as Lucy, but he's baby.
Yeah.
Merlin is baby.
Very much.
No, Merlin was the contrary character that was like anathema to the rest of the crew. Like, monsters are bad. Monsters have been bad my entire life. Monsters killed my family. Like, very much the hardcore, like, edgelord, like, entrance into the Wardens as he was, and then like you realize that was all lies. And now they have this kid tagging along with them who's bound to Galaxy somehow. Not spoil things.
Magically.
Magically. Who's bound to Galaxy, and he just wants to do well and embody what a Warden should be, which I think is a lot of fun.
I love that he becomes like a double agent, or like he's trying to make it better from the inside, right?
Yeah.
So at the beginning, he was like, when I thought he was older, I was like, you're annoying. You're just a jerk, You're probably going to die in 20 pages. But then...
I hope he dies in 20 pages and then he doesn't. Like, it's terrible. Why?
Damn. But you did really good at characterizing him and then giving him all these little nuances and like implanted memories. That was so wonderfully done, because I did not like him at the beginning, and now I just want to protect him like he's a little fragile egg.
Well, good. I'm glad. That was kind of the point. I wanted Marcus to have something to help him hold on to his humanity.
Yeah.
Granted, like, his son Connell does that, but like he would lose a lot of his humanity to protect him, and he for a while there did. But luckily Merlin was able to kind of rein him back in there for a minute, because the series could have gone a very different way if he had just let loose and stayed loose.
There's so many characters that I love in this book, and it's so eclectic. Probably because you're joining at a bar, right? Like, the very first one is at the bar, and then they go on an adventure in the second one. But how do you keep people not feeling repetitive or stale, I guess?
So every story and every relationship, people grow. So you have the benefit, or at least I do, of seeing into their heads and how they react to things. And those reactions, like a lot of people would see, like, no, they need to react this way because that's how the Tony would react. If Cassia sees something, she's gonna punch it. And I was like, you're damn right that she is. You're absolutely right that she is. But what happens when the one time she punches something and it's like, yeah, I'm not going down as easy as you think I am. Like, I'm gonna break you in half first. Like the whole Bane versus Batman thing. Like, you have to crawl out of the dirt and build yourself back up. Well, that hasn't happened to Cassia yet because she's badass. But like, I mean, like, there have been things that she's not used to, like the emotional aspect of what, like, coming to care for someone, and then like these people are treating her differently from her family, and they're not as much of something for her to protect as they are for her to cherish. So that aspect is what helps pull her sometimes out of her own character and allows her to grow in a different light. And it's almost the same thing for Arden. Like, she's this snarky nerd who's just like, I was there when, like, Jesus walked in Bethlehem. Like, dude's beard was not as legit as everybody's saying. Like, she was there for all of this, like, history for humanity, and she's just like, yeah, no, I don't care. And then she meets Marcus and she interacts with Cassia and Galaxy, and it's like, well, like, now I get to feel vulnerable, and I have these people who care enough to listen to me about my family. And, you know, and later on in the series, like, they go hunting for her family. They want to find them, which is huge, especially for her, and she doesn't know how to feel about it. Especially in the second book, because you kind of get to realize some things about what happened to her.
Yeah. So the second book is, I don't want to spoil it for people, so just go read the books. Just read
Yes.
them, and then
Do
we can
that.
talk about them somewhere.
Yes. Go read my backlog.
It's only like 40 hours of content for like 3 books. It's fine.
It's only listening to Christian Gilliland and Dan Sarah Marks just being badasses. So, I mean,
they were so good together.
They're so good.
Loved it.
They're so good. I love it so much. Just listening to Christian's, like, bassy voice. I was like, I want this guy to audition. And then I heard it and I was like, nobody else needs to audition. I feel bad for these guys. Like, I want them to have their portfolio. And then I was like, I heard Christian and I was like, yep, that's it. That's it.
Well, I mean, it wasn't Travis Baldry, so, you know, you gave somebody else a shot, right?
Yeah. No, I have something in mind for Travis, but, like, we'll keep that on the DL.
Doesn't everybody, right?
Yeah, like, who doesn't want to work with Travis Baldry? I mean, the guy worked on Fate. Jesus. My favorite, like, computer video game of all time. So, like, I'm just gonna name drop that and
Just
leak my age. Yeah, just drop it like there.
I was never into video games, so when I talked to him, I was like, we're going to talk about your book.
Yeah.
You know, I know you were a game developer, kind of. I don't know what that entails, but, you know.
We're going to talk about the one that you wrote.
Right.
Which is amazing, by the way. Not to segue our own interview, but I got to read that before a lot of other people. It was awesome.
I loved it so much.
Huge fan. Like, the subtle romance.
Also, Cass reminds me of the orc in his book a lot. And I'm like, she is such that character. Yeah. Only she doesn't want to stop fighting. She also wants to fight. She just
Cass, like, where Liv is like, I just want to make lattes. Cass is like, I would love a latte out of someone's skull.
Clearly, I like your book a lot, so.
I appreciate it. I do. I'm always telling my readers, hey, you don't have to read this book alone. I will come and read it with you, and we'll have conversations. I have people who message me like, "Hey, I'm at this part. What do you think?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're in for a treat." And then they'll be like on book 4 and like, "Hey, I'm at this part. What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it gets bad. Don't worry. You'll like it. You'll like it. I promise."
Oh, good. It's not dreading at all.
No. Like this is like more first series. Book 4
Oh,
in HTH is gonna be eye-opening for a lot of people.
oh goodness.
Don't try it. Don't try to just embrace it. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. But yeah, like I'm always throwing myself out there. Like, hey, I volunteer as tribute. Come talk to me. I love talking about like my worlds and talking to people just for random things.
I love that you're so accessible too. Like I don't know, you were really nice to me when I first started on the Gamelit Society on Facebook, and I was like, this is clearly a space that I would enjoy being in if people are this nice, you know?
Yeah,
You seem pretty engaged with your audience. Like you have a Discord and you have Patreon, correct?
yeah, I do. I post chapters like I try to every week. So like anywhere from like 2 to 4 chapters a week, like on a single day that I'm just like, data dump. There you go. Have fun. I'm gonna go over here and like huddle in a corner for a little bit because that was a raw writing session. Yeah, like I've always loved the idea and like the community ship of lit RPG and gamelit because the authors are right there with you. And like so again, harkening back to wanting that that close relationship with my friends again. Readers too, man. Like you guys, it is to me personally. I would have talked to you without the podcast, and we would have still had a blast.
Right.
But like, we just get to record this so people can hear how much of an idiot I am sometimes.
How much nerd I am. I get it. No, it's fine.
It's totally cool. It's totally cool. We're both nerds. We get that.
I think
I'm
everybody
right
who
there with you.
watches this is kind of nerdy too.
Yeah, you nerds.
Yeah.
Love it. But yeah, it was always really important to me, like not to be like, no matter how famous or infamous I got, because you know, like people, I've had one person like see in my car because my license plate says Axe Druid, and he's like, "Did you write those books?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, I love those books." And like at the time, I was like, "Holy shit!" In the wild, I don't know what to do. I'm on my way to breakfast with my aunt and uncle. Like, ah, love you, dude. Cool, thanks, awesome. Ah, I'm gonna go do something else. Again, what do I do with my hands? But yeah, like I never wanted to be away from my readers, just because like you guys get to experience the same emotions I felt when I was writing that story, and I know how to feel or how I felt. So I want to be there with you. Like, yeah, that was shitty, dude. I'm right here with you. We'll get through this. I promise. Not just my horrible prose, like the story itself.
You don't have horrible prose. You're fine.
Yeah. High Table is much more like processed and much better than my first book. But I mean, at the same time, there's an Oni in there just punching people in the face for no reason.
I know, right?
It's great. It's great.
I don't know.
Nobody needs to die.
So with Axe Druid, I liked the characters that you had so much, right? Like you're such a character writer to me, anyway. So like that to me is your biggest strength, and I love it. I love the weirdness that you can come up with, and like how you make me care about these weird people doing weird things, living the life.
Yeah. No, so that kind of lends itself back to my time in the Marine Corps. You meet a lot of people, a lot. And with that, like, there are some really weird people. like we talk about crayon eaters and we joke about that, and like roughnecks and all this stuff. Like you meet some like really weird characters, and part of like journalism is like you need to make that character pop, and you have to make people care about them. So how do you make them care about them while also hitting the wickets that you have to hit, like making people care about the Marine Corps and like what our mission is and all that stuff? Like, well, you humanize them. And it's the same thing for book characters. Like I was like really lucky to, for the first time I started writing, to have friends who had very real personalities. And to me at the time, they were very similar because they all love the same things. They all want to do the same things. They all have their crazy like ticks. Like, for instance, Jakin, very much a surfer. Like this dude like lived in Arizona, but like you would swear up and down he spent his entire life on the water, with how he was just like so chill and relaxed, and like, you know, it's like, yeah, man, that's cool. Like we're gonna be best friends now, and it's absolutely true. You know, like he's just used this crazy like caricature of a human being, and like the same could be said for all of my friends. Like, yo, he's very much the overlord. Like he is an evil mastermind.
I'm hoping you're talking about your kid, really, secretly.
Oh yeah, no, my son is absolutely an evil mastermind, and my daughter is like way over my head. But good God, how are you so diabolical? And I realized she's of my bloodline. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
None of those crayons really ended up in her, so it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's the plastic. That's why she's so fake sometimes. Like she mugs everybody. It's crazy. But yeah, no. So like you have to bring these people to life and make people care about them, and that was always hugely important to me when I was reading.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make these characters like larger than life and just have them be fun and be themselves. And luckily for awesome people like you, like those vibes mesh well. Yeah. So cool.
The other thing that I found really different about the High Table was that it's urban fantasy, and there wasn't a whole lot of it last year or the year before even. And now I've seen a couple more pop up, but it seems like you captured urban fantasy lit RPG really well.
Thank you. I was terrified. So when I realized that this was the same universe as Axe Druid, just the other side of the coin, it was really important for me. Like, 'cause I love the Dresden Files.
Right.
Huge fan of the Dresden Files, but I was also like a huge fan of The Dark Hunters by Sherilyn Kenyon. And like, if you've never read it, it's amazing.
I'll have to read it.
So good. So good. It, again, urban historical fantasy.
Oh, okay.
So like the characters that are in this series are like gods among men, and like they fight these creatures called the daemons that are like magical vampires, like cursed to take souls from human beings that they have to fight and like, you know, send away back to the nether. Like huge influence on like what I was going through, like building this secret world. Also like Anita Blake. I don't know if you're familiar with Laurel K. Hamilton's work. Good God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole aspect of like the supernatural is real and it's out there in the open now. I was like, oh, that concept is amazing to me. So what happens if I start with it being a huge secret and end up with it maybe not being? Like, I don't know. You haven't read before yet, so we're not going to spoil anything. But like,
I can see the direction it's heading.
yeah. It's all in the cards. Nothing's off the table just yet. But like I like urban fantasy from a reader standpoint, and I was like, I don't see this in the genre that I like.
Yeah.
Maybe people would like it. Turns out people like it. People also like drink recipes, so I put those in the books too. So, yeah, you can follow the directions of the recipes that I put in the books and actually make yourself a little drink too. Great.
Just as I'm listening to it.
Yeah, like, oh, hey, we're back at the part where he makes that drink for Lucy, and now I'm like 4 drinks in, and I don't know where I'm going.
I don't know where we are.
But I'm gonna have a great time. But yeah, it was an underserved, I think, niche in the genre that I was like, I personally would love to see it. I think a lot of people would like it too, and I just want to write this story because I think it's fun.
I love the very beginning of Galaxy. Marcus has a conversation with his uncle about how he's going to explain to the IRS how he has so much money from working at this bar. And he's like, just don't put it in a bank account.
Yeah. Or better yet, I have an accountant friend that we can just slide it this way. Maybe we'll advance your portfolio, things like that. It doesn't matter that, Bill is an actual dragon.
Yeah. I mean,
whose hoard is other people's money.
Yeah, it's just secure that way,
Yeah. He cares. He'll make it grow. He'll have a hell of a time getting it, but he'll make it grow.
So those are like the aspects that I really thought were very funny. They were very Jim Butchery, like off the cuff comments about like, oh yeah, we just got to skirt around the government just a little bit this way, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. So no one who likes paying taxes. I mean, come on, right? Especially if what you're doing is life-threatening, like working in a bar for monsters that, any given alpha werewolf will try to just bite you because you just gave him his preferred poison. I think I earned that $600 in tips. I really do, and I'm not going to give you any of it, Mr. IRS man. But yeah, those little tips and tricks are what makes the world that much more believable. There is a group of gnomes in book 3 that you will find, the phone gnomes, who they're a thing, I promise you, and they're funny as all get out. Cass and Cornelius, look forward to them. So they hack into your phone line and make it so that you're not roaming every time you go somewhere around the world, because that's how humans can track you now.
Yeah.
And everybody needs a phone. Who doesn't want to talk to their friends, or who doesn't want to play shop types at 4 o'clock in the morning in Cairo and then go over to Columbus in half an hour? This guy's just blinking all over the world. What is going on with this dude's phone? Is he on a VPN? What is happening? No, phone gnomes take care of that. You're with Verizon? Ugh, sorry. But you have a guy over there, you just call this number and then you're good.
That's okay. I'm very excited for book 3 now. You did it. You did it with phone gnomes. I don't know how, but you did it.
Well, remember the guy with the tattoo?
Oh yeah.
That's him and his wife. They are my phone gnomes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. I put people I like in my books. I absolutely do it. I am guilty as charged. But those two are hilarious.
So when I was reading, I glanced through the reviews on Amazon sometimes. One of them for book 4 said that you put yourself in it.
I did. So, you may remember, you may not. There is a portion of book 1 in Galaxy where they start talking to this chained up big white dog in somebody's backyard. That was my backyard. That was me. They were talking to that came up with the other dog.
Okay.
And then they meet that same person in book 2, and they find out that he's a little more than what they thought.
Yeah.
So that's where you start to meet the characters from my other series. So it started in book 1 as like a cameo. Like I was thinking like, oh, this is gonna be like a Stan Lee style thing. Like I'm just gonna put myself in my books and we'll see how long it lasts. And then by book 4, like, yeah, it ain't a cameo anymore, dude. Like you're a full on cast member. You're out here doing shit.
So you just went from Stan Lee to like Quentin Tarantino. It's fine, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely Tarantino this motherfucker. Sorry.
Don't murder everybody violently, please.
We'll see about that.
Not everybody, right?
I'm not going to George R.R. Martin anybody by any means. Like, it's not going to be like a Red Wedding type of deal. But like, I have a temper. Apparently, I don't know anything about that. That's just me. But no, like it was something that I thought would be fun at first, and then I realized these books are in the same universe. This dude is actually here. Shit. Well, now he's going to be involved with the story somehow, and then it is a recurring thing as the series goes on.
So I take it you're not one of those people that plans ahead.
I have goals.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very much a pantser. Very much a pantser. I know where I want to go. Okay. We're going to meander our way there. We'll probably stop at the bar and have a couple drinks, and then we'll like get back on the road. But yeah, it's going to be a fun time getting there. And you're going to be just as surprised as I am sometimes. Like, okay, for instance, in Galaxy, I personally was not expecting Lucifer. Ooh. He just showed up. He was there. Originally, I think it was going to be the Grim Reaper, but I'd already kind of played on that a little bit with Anubis.
Yeah.
So I was like, Lucifer, we're gonna go full Morningstar here. We're gonna slide the devil in there, see what kind of devil's in the details, and he turned out to be a huge hit, like both for readers and for me, because I think he's fun. I think he's fucking awesome. And now in book 5, I'm like, can I have more Lucy, please?
Let's just figure out a way to bring him in.
Just drag him back in, like kicking his feet. Come on, dude. Let's go.
You just dangle a bloody. just give him a bloody.
Thank you. Just put you in a cage.
It's just fun. What are you working on now?
So, I finished book 1 of a new series that is in the same universe as High Table and as Druid. So it is the genuine continuation of Druid.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, like, there are going to be some characters and things that you, like, hear about in book 6 of Druid that you're like, I wonder if this is going to happen. Well, it happened. And you start to really see where those worlds mesh and how they come into each other. Because by the end of Druid, it is very much attached to Earth in a way, shape, and form that I'm not going to get into because it'd be spoiler for a lot of people. But
people need to buy the books to know.
you get to meet Aslo and Nadir.
Okay.
The series is called Brindolin Affairs, and the first book is called Forged Sorcerer.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. But right now, I'm actually working on Hijinks 5.
Yay! As soon as I catch up.
back at it with Marcus and the gang. I've got like 13 chapters up on on my Patreon. By the way, full books on Patreon. I don't take that shit down.
Oh.
So any of my patrons, like I think you have to be like a wizard level to get in there. That's like the $3 tier. $1 just gets you into the Discord. $3 gets you access to everything. Like for $3, you can go read my entire back catalog for free. It's unrefined.
Oh.
They're rough. They're like spelling mistakes and stuff. But you get a general sense of what's going on in the story and how it's going and everything like that. And I like chat with everybody in my Discord. It's great. But we have like 13 chapters of it up so far. That's about 30 to 35,000 words so far. And this is looking like it's going to be like one of the like more, I don't want to say gruesome, but like the book is a little slower on the front end building up to things because they have to find a certain place. And getting there is crazy. So they're working on getting there, and like you get to see the aspects of like, okay, these characters and their relationships are growing, and this is how the world itself is using all of this. Sorry. So like you get to see that the world is growing and things are changing, and these changes are going to be there for good or for ill. And it's hugely fun to write so far. I'm having a blast. I can't wait for everybody to come back.
Is there an order we should read these books in?
No, absolutely. Well, Untitled Hijinks itself is a standalone series. You can read it and get the gist of what happened in Axe Druid. And if you try to read Axe Druid and it isn't for you, that's fine. Just know that these guys did have their own story and they have the reasons for being, what they are. If you wanted to start at Untitled Hijinks and then go back, that's perfectly fine. You get to kind of like learn about everybody beforehand, and then you get to see how they came up to what they are. If you start at Axe Druid, grind it out. It's only 6 books for the first series. Then you can run into Marcus and his friends, and it's like nobody ever left, But the kids would be best served after Axe Druid, and partially, like partway through. I think honestly, you could probably start reading the kids after book 4 and like see how their like adventures are marking up to what's going on in Untitled Hijinks.
Okay.
But I mean, it'll be its own series as well. I don't have the slightest foggiest clue how many books it's going to be, but like the stakes are high for them personally, like it's personal stakes, and I think that they're characters that people are going to really like because they're different from anything I've ever written.
Well, I'm excited to hear about or to read it eventually,
You gotta be hacking away at that TBR.
I know. One day I'll get through what I have and have a whole other stack. Well, thank you, Chris, so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, it's always like really fun to just geek out with somebody and talk.
I really enjoyed talking with you, and I love hearing about people and how they come about getting all their stuff together, and I love it.
Well, I'm always down to come back.
Good. I just have to read the rest of Axe Druid. Thank you.
You are welcome.
As
the monthly laugh.
As for everybody else, you really got to check out the High Table Hijinks. I think it's hilarious, and it's weird but very fun. Like, I love it. And each book kind of like shifts a little, which is fantastic because then it doesn't get stale. And I always want to know what everybody's reading, so, let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for listening and have a great day.